loudest. Sometimes things there is a right or wrong, and history. My son has been doing a lot of research on those slave deeds over there, and it is not to cause anyone shame. Absolutely, in America, we don't judge people by what their ancestors did. My son saw some, relatives over there of his too. It's not a matter of shame at all. We get to decide. We're judged now. You're judged, I'm judged by how we conduct ourselves, by the decisions that we make now. And, history will judge us all about which side we're taking now, which is why, with shaky hands, I've gotten up here to speak to you. But I just ask that each of you, I've told some, this person, there's no hope. I don't believe that. I believe that this statue will be moved, and I believe it will be a unanimous decision when it comes down to it. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Braswell.
Pastor James Pemberton.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, commissioners. We've already heard all the points and things about the statue and why the statue needs to be down.
You can pull the mic up just a little bit so we can hear you. Thank you.
Why it needs to be down and the reasons why and all those other things. But as I lay before God on last week and as I came before him the day before I came, one of the things, the decision is in your hands. Am I right? As to whether the statue goes or stays. But one of the things that God, first thing he asked me was to ask you, how many of you are born-again believers? And as born-again believers, the Word of God tells us that all men were created equal. When God created Adam and Eve, he didn't say nothing about race. He created a man and a woman after his own heart that were just like him. And in our Constitution, it says that all men were created with inalienable rights. And God told us to have faith in him. And one of the things that Jesus said when he came on the scene was that we should love our neighbors as we love ourselves. He didn't say love black or love white. And, it seems that there is time for us to put away the things of race. It's time to put that away. That was a part of us and a part of our country that was a bad part. I mean, the Confederacy, those that fought the war, praise God, the North and the South, that was a time when brother was against brother. Men were against other men. I mean, and at times things are going on now, and it seems like it's coming back around because we can't get past the thing of the statues that were left from the Confederacy. And we all know that the statues were given by the Daughters of the Confederacy to each place where they were put up. And once they were put up, then the cities and the states owned them. So since you own them, you have the right to do with them what you see is best for our community. Now,
Pastor Pemberton, 30 seconds.
Okay, one of the things that we need to see is that if they don't come, if we can't get them down in a peaceable, situation, that if we don't do something peaceably, then if we have to have marches, if we have to have things going on to say we need the statues to come down, then we will be inviting people in from other places. I mean, we're not telling them to come in, but you saw what happened in Alamance and the other counties and everything. We would love to have it come down in a peaceable situation to be put in a museum so that any of those that want to go see them, they can go see it. because we don't want it to go, and we don't want it to be where it'll be detrimental to Asheboro. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Megan Bruley. I apologize if I messed up your last name.
Good evening. Thank you for your time for allowing us to be here. On the topic of the request to have the Confederate statue moved to another location in the city, I would like to share my voice to favor the side of the removal. Today is a part of a new wave that is coming to help us make the future generations better. Our community is already in the spotlight for outside culture reasons, out of the white norm. This is the time to continue that growth. When your children and your grandchildren look back at this moment, do you want them to be a part of the change for the better, knowing that you helped or that you were a barricade to the future? Learning more of our history, our local history, I am more educated of the truth. Point blank, we are all human. That is what we all have in common. We are all different genders, race, age, but we are all human. We have different experiences, different pains, different backgrounds, but the greatest gift is that we can have empathy. The difference between empathy and sympathy is that sympathy is the been there, done that, but empathy, we cannot feel firsthand the pain, but as we are friends and neighbors, we can try to put ourselves in their shoes and understand their heart's burdens. I, myself, I am a wife, I am a mother, and I am a nurse. I keep the words kindness and respect in my daily vocabulary, teaching my child to learn to help others and treat them the way that he would want to be treated. As adults, this is our job to teach. Commissioners, your role is to be bold and to make decisions based on listening to the people in this community. I would love to welcome more people into this community, but not with the embarrassment of holding on to a statue, segregating our neighbors and our friends. We are better than this. A quote that I've read that means a lot, that's pretty important and holds true to this situation. A true leader has the confidence to stand alone, the courage to make tough decisions, and the compassion to listen to the needs of others. It is your job to lead with boldness, to have compassion, and to have open ears and an open heart. We all come from different backgrounds, and I think you guys have a pretty tough decision, but we ask that you are listening, considerate, kind, and respectful. I feel like this is a respectful situation. This group has come wanting to help, not wanting to hurt. And I would also just like to throw out there that I saw on the news that the largest monument, Confederate monument in this country is being taken down tomorrow, of Robert E. Lee in Richmond, Virginia. They showed it on the news today, and there's graffiti all over it. It looks terrible. People don't respect it. Ours doesn't have that yet. We want to keep it, and we want to respectfully take it down without being ugly and disgraced. We are open to that. I think that's fair for everyone. Thank you very much.
I would like to say that, we, members of the board, the chairman, have had discussions with various folks in the community, and I ask that you have patience with us. We want to make what is the best decision for the county. We're certainly not going to make any decision tonight, certainly without the chairman here, but in the coming months, we will be addressing the issue and talking about it. So what I do ask is that you have patience with us as we work through this as a board together. So, all right. That concludes our public comment period. We'll move on to the consent agenda. You've had an opportunity to look at it. If you want to talk about any specific item or would like to remove it and talk about one item, vote on it separately, or otherwise I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda. Approve it.
Yeah, so moved to accept the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Second. My motion by Commissioner Kidd, seconded by Commissioner Haywood. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Okay. We'll ask Waste Management Annual Update. Bob Peeler, I believe. You're here for your annual report.
Commissioners, staff, and citizens, it's our honor and pleasure to present our annual report. I'm joined by Mike McFeely, our district manager here at Great Oak, and because of the work of Mike McFeely and Vanessa Hemphill and others at Great Oak, we are able to serve the citizens of Randolph County. This is our official 2021 annual report. You have that report, and certainly the citizens have it available to them. We won't go through it page by page and line by line, but I did have it pointed out to me earlier that I don't have anything on orange this evening, and let's just say my wife Donna, who is a University of South Carolina Gamecock, had a little better weekend than I did, and I'm glad she's happy after Saturday.
I don't have anything light blue either, so I commiserate with you.
Believe me, I'm with you. What I wanted to do, if it's okay with you, is to say a few things and to open it up for questions that you have. And as you know, if they're technical, it would probably be better if Mike answers them. But the partnership that we have with you all in Randolph County means a lot to us, and we build on it every day. And as you know, we're not perfect, but one thing that we do take some pride in is when we do make mistakes or have issues that we follow up and fix them. And we think we've done a pretty good job of that. Since March of last year, as we all know, the world has been interesting. With COVID-19, we haven't been able to have our in-person Citizens Advisory Committee meetings, but thankfully we were able to have one in person last Wednesday right here at Hamilton's, and we had some good lively discussion, which is a good thing. We had many questions, which is a good thing. Commissioner Kidd was there. County Manager Hal Johnson was there. We have work to do, and we continue to do that. This isn't just about the funds. This is more than that, and believe me, it's more than that to us. But I do want to point out that over the last 7 years, Waste Management has paid to the county over $11 million in fees and has paid over $4 million in taxes. But it is a partnership. We're thankful for that. And if at this time, I'll ask if you have any questions. I'll be glad to try to answer them, and Mike McFeely would also.
Questions?
One question I'd like to ask.
Speak into the mic, if you can.
Again? You hearing okay now?
We're back on.
Good. One question I'd like to ask, one thing that was brought to my attention, and you know, was about the tires and the tire carrying with the trucks. Could you address the issue with the tires and being able to have enough space for people to come and deposit those?
Yeah, Commissioner. All of our tires go to a company called Central Carolina Holdings. It's a tire monofill down in Cameron, North Carolina. They've been handling the tires as long as we've been doing this. They do provide trailers, and they haul the tires as we fill them up. When we first took over, originally we maintained 2 trailers over at the county land site. We now maintain 4, and we keep them in constant rotation. Now, like everything else, Central Carolina Holdings is running into the same issue that a lot of people are, keeping drivers, getting drivers, keeping drivers. There have been delays in getting the trailers, but we're calling them in and dispatching them just as fast as they fill up.
That's great. That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
That really, over the last year, that's been the only, that I can recall, major issue is some of our tire stores and that deal in tires, hire drivers to come and load those, and they get there, they're not able to unload because the trailers are full. And Bob, I think we've talked about that. So
We have.
I don't think it's a brand new issue, but I haven't heard any complaints recently. But so hopefully things are going a little bit more to form, hopefully with those additional 4 trailers.
Thank you. They are, but we're still working on it, and we'll continue to do that. And it is important to us that the county do share with us issues that come up. And again, as I mentioned before, when we have them, we need to fix them, and we think we do a pretty good job of that.
Well, again, I appreciate what you've done there, because I know you did increase your trailers to accommodate, and appreciate you doing that.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions. And by the way, I talked with some citizens that were at the advisory meeting, and so they said it was a really good meeting. They talked about how responsive you guys were, and so, and waste management has been in addressing some issues, so thank you for that. All right, so where do all these batteries come from? When I look at when I looked at the report for the last year, 20 tons of batteries?
No, ma'am, that is, well, it's 20,000 pounds. It's 10 tons.
Okay, so it's in the ton column. So I thought 20,000 tons?
No, it is 10 tons.
Okay.
It's
But
20,000
still,
pounds. That's,
even-
I put the table together. I probably should have made that a
All right,
little
well,
bit
that's
clearer.
okay, but even 10 tons, where do they come from?
Those are scrap batteries that are dropped off by residents at the convenience sites.
Holy cow.
Batteries are pretty heavy. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's true. That's true. That's
They
true. I
are
mean,
heavy.
it's not you guys.
No, they're batteries that are brought in by residents and handled by Ashboro Recycling.
Okay. But they're just regular, for the most part, household batteries.
Car batteries.
Car batteries.
Car batteries.
Car batteries. Okay. See, I don't think about car batteries. I think about household batteries. So
No, and actually,
These are not
Okay.
seasoned double A's.
Car batteries. Okay,
Car batteries.
I got you. So no wonder. All right, sorry.
No,
You know,
no.
I'm not blonde anymore. I used to be, but sorry for you blondes that are out there. Sorry. Okay, all right. And then it says that the site soil usage for daily and intermediate cover is 10%. Can you talk about that for a minute?
yes, ma'am, we try to maintain 10% or less of our, if we take in 2,000 tons of waste in a day, we try not to put on more than 200 tons of dirt to cover it.
Okay. So you
Does that
use
make
some of
sense?
the other approved covers.
We do, we have a number of forms of alternate daily cover that we use. The largest one being auto shredder fluff, which comes from a scrapyard in Reedsville. And that's our largest source of alternate daily cover. It is approved by DEQ. We take in anywhere from 120 to 200 tons of that a day, and we use that in lieu of daily cover soil.
Okay. All right, good. Okay, all right, well, thank you. Answers my question perfectly.
Mr. Kidd, you have,
Well, this is kind of based on the lively discussion we had at the meeting the other day, which I appreciate. And actually, I had brought up a couple questions, and I had a private conversation with one of the engineers that was there. And it was kind of about further back in time. some questions that I had received from citizens about smells and odors. We talked about that a little bit. Actually, one of them I got a phone call from sitting back there. But anyway, but public comment time's over. But anyway, y'all kind of addressed that and kind of talked about how you've controlled that, you know, better. You talked about the gas. Could you, not the milkman, but could you kind of go through like the gas burn off and everything and how that methane's being controlled a little better, and maybe we're getting over some of that?
Yes, sir. We went ahead and in 2020, we installed the first phase of our landfill gas system, because the number one cause of odors at a landfill is going to be the landfill gas emissions. Traditionally, landfills will start to install gas wells in a system usually around the 5-year mark. We were having odor issues, so we decided to move that schedule up. So we installed the first phase starting in 2020. We put in our landfill gas flare and the first 13 gas extraction wells. And then right after the beginning of 2021, we came right back and started drilling more gas wells. So right now we're operating 30 gas extraction wells and an active flare that burns 24/7. That handles the majority of it. Good daily cover is going to be the other way to control odors each day. And in addition, we installed a misting system that just kind of sprays out a fine mist of a deodorizer that just surrounds the active working phase.
So I just wanted to, that's been had been my main phone call, and y'all addressed it the other day, and of course, since y'all are here tonight, I figured, especially since one person was here.
Yeah, I think the installation of the gas system has been the biggest help.
All right. Any other questions, comments? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks. All right. Next item is item B, broadband and digital literacy update. Kenny Sharon, our Cooperative Extension Director.
Okay. Well, Michael's getting the pretty pictures on. Appreciate you allowing me to come and do this. I come at your request for a broadband report about the county. Be glad to share a little bit of what I know and some issues that I've been facing. Nancy, nice to meet you. Nancy called me up in the office and was sharing her plight with me, and I told her I was doing this report, and I said, you should share your story. So she's here and just to share her story with the board and to support the work that we're doing with the broadband here in the county. All right, we got the pictures on. So what is broadband? Broadband is an always-on internet connection. Commissioners and others, the packet there, the ones with 3 slides on it has the notes that sort of go along with the slides. The other ones are for people that can't see very well, that's bigger, right?
Are you making some sort of comment regarding age or anything?
No age requirement, because I like the bigger size myself. But I thought you would need the notes later when you forget what I say. So the broadband is always on internet connection here. And I want to address the spectrum, the framework that I'm going to be talking about tonight. It's called the engagement framework for broadband. The first thing I want to talk about is the availability, because that's what we all are concerned about, is broadband available at my house? If you look at this map, it says in that upper left-hand corner that 97% of Randolph County has speeds at least 25.3. This alludes to what Nancy was talking about earlier, it's very misleading on who can get internet. It's self-reported by the companies that provide the internet, and if they can count one person in a census tract that gets that speed, or they propose they can get that speed, whether they get it or not, they can count that whole census tract as having that speed.
Can you talk just a little bit? You said 25.3.
Right. I'll explain speeds here.
Okay.
Once I can move to that. This slide tells us a little bit about speed here. I saw a report released today that the average American home downloads 405 gigabits data every month. And I made this chart to show how long that would take at certain speeds. So if you're on the promoted speed of a lot of DSL at 10.1, that would take 90 hours of download, and then upload, the average upload is 28 gigabits. That would take a total of 152 hours. That's a long time to wait on data to download. I made up this number myself here, this life cost. I tried to quantify, put a number with that. If we take the average wage in Asheboro and give that average wage those total hours, that's $2,000 a month that it costs people to waiting on downloads at 10.1. As you see in the chart, the cost goes down as the speed goes up. So 25.3 is the standard that FCC is using now that it says that's adequate. I'll let the folks that have 25.3 come and testify about that if they want to. As we move more things online and more services are forced online, telemedicine, remote learning, all these types of services that we are now sort of required and expected to participate in, is going to require more and more speed. So, and this chart sort of shows how long those speeds take here. Sort of the speeds by technology. Of course, way back when we heard those modems dial up, that's dial-up service. That's not even on here anymore. You have DSL, you have cable, which around here is Spectrum, run by Charter Communications. We have fiber optic cables, what that stands for. A lot of the big provider here in Randolph County is Randolph Communications. And then a little bit about fixed wireless. It's a tower with the antenna on it, and it gives direct line of sight. You can get internet that way. Exciting is that we have a provider, a new and the only provider of fixed wireless in Randolph County is up in that Lineberry, Grays Chapel area. There's a slide in here on that here too. So a little bit about breakdown and the availability. Still, we're talking availability of internet. We're still in that part of the framework. This next slide is a picture, a Google Maps picture of the area in that area. There's Providence Grove High School is pictured here on the left-hand side. Give you a reference, a frame of reference of the part of the county we're talking about. Ms. Sharpless lives on Benny Lineberry Road. Okay, the colors. The color indicates that in the Great Grant funding, which was a North Carolina funding mechanism, that the red part was available for funding. That meant that no other company had gotten funding for that area. So if a provider wanted to put an application to fund infrastructure in that area, they could. Notice that where Ms. Sharpless lives, that color is not highlighted. That meant somebody had already gotten funding to put infrastructure in that area. And this next map sort of shows that picture. The purple part, here, that funding was received by CenturyLink. And the tragedy of all this is that that funding only required a minimum of 10.1 speeds. They put good money after bad technology, in my opinion. That's my opinion. That's not really fact, but you can think about that. But anyway, so CenturyLink did not choose to upgrade the technology. They could meet that speed requirement with the old copper that we used for years on the telephone. So they didn't upgrade their infrastructure. And that, since CenturyLink had gotten the funding for internet in that census tract, the census tract that Ms. Sharpless lives in, that was no longer available to receive other funds. This map also shows something that Ms. Sharpless said, is that Randolph Communications has the gigabit service just right down the road. That tan area on the map shows where that service is. And when and the next slide will show sort of the same thing. This shows you the county. What internet companies do, they bid and try to get approved to put infrastructure in different census tracts in the county. That's how the FCC does it. And what they'll do is they'll bid and they'll get the money, and they have a big time window to get this done. This slide here shows the RDOF funds, which is the Rural Digital Opportunity Funds. These companies have 10 years to deploy this. That means that Ms. Sharpless may have to wait 10 years to get high-speed internet if it's relying on these companies here. So it's hard. SpaceX has gotten funding to put internet in North Carolina using the Starlink satellite system. I typed Ms. Sharpless' address into the Starlink order form, and it says may come in 2021, late 2021. So what these companies do, sort of like they mark their territory and they sort of tie up the funding mechanisms to put infrastructure into these areas. And it creates a backlog of the citizens needing internet, but their area has been marked by these companies that aren't being truthful where they're putting their infrastructure money that they're getting from the grants. Randolph Communications, a representative, is on the Digital Alliance group that I'm on, and they gave me this statement. They are working hard, and when they get that grant money, they haven't gotten any of the grant money that this shows up here, but they get other funds, and when they get funding, they put the fiber optic cables where they can offer the gigabit service, which is a very fast speed. I mentioned in that same area, the Sharpless property, within sight of that property, maybe if they're not behind a tree, is that new digital fixed wireless company that's going in. Brad and Natasha Cox are doing this. They've gotten no funding from any government agency. They are self-funding with family members, putting up a tower to offer service in this area, using a new spectrum that the FCC has released called CBRS spectrum. You can see the coverage map there. That's going to go a long ways in this big hole that's in that part of the county when they get fully up and operational. Ms. Sharpless said she did talk to those folks, and it looks like they are going to be able to provide her with internet, and she is super excited about having speeds that can finally operate the things she wants to. The next thing is the coronavirus changed the internet. And how did it change it? It made people hyper aware if they had internet speeds adequate enough or not. Remote learning, telemedicine, it made everybody aware. Having to work from home, all that sort of stuff really made people aware. So this part of the engagement framework, we're going to talk about awareness and access. So one of the things about access we think about, and what happened at the beginning of the pandemic, is remote learning. The Randolph County School Board school systems on our alliance. Thank you, Dr. Gainey. Sheena does a great job. She gave me some numbers today. There's over 15,000 students. 4,700 of those have responded, about 30% of the students. 19 have no access to the internet at home. That creates a problem when they have to do assignments at home. 43% have no device at home. If you extrapolate, and I don't know if you can do this, I'm not a statistician, but if you extrapolate those numbers and have that as a representative sample of all the students, you can see the numbers there that are without internet or without a device. I'm not sure I can do that. I'm not a statistician, so I just represented it as well as I could. So as we were looking in Randolph County to work on this digital divide, we were able to get at the Extension Office the Band NC grant. The round two, I brought this before the board. Round two, I had $10,000. I was able to purchase 23 computers and place those computers in areas that I thought would help students be able to connect and tackle some of that 43% of students that did not have devices. Gave some to the school system, gave some to Ross at the library, gave some to the YMCA, so students could be able to do remote learning. Out of this digital, out of this Band NC grant, we had to do a planning aspect of that called the Digital Inclusion Plan. The group of volunteers that got together to do that became known. We started calling ourselves the Digital Alliance. This is a list of folks that have agreed to serve and participate in the Digital Alliance. We are glad, and we are meeting, and we're moving forward with some of this stuff. The mission and the vision statement in Randolph County: every household and business will have the opportunity to earn, learn, and be well by accessing digital resources. That's what we want to happen in Randolph County. I think Randolph County will be a better place if that can happen. So awareness, we just addressed the access part by getting some of the funds. I must go back to when I talked to Ms. Creech from the school system. She gave me those numbers. They are working on getting a grant to help support and buy some hotspots and some devices to help divide for that digital divide. And that's going right through the school system. So the awareness part, we're working on that. We have hired, and we have with us today Laura LeGlue. Laura's sitting here on the front row. She's our digital ambassador. What are we going to do with our digital ambassador? Laura has a big job ahead of her. The first goal is just to talk about this issue in Randolph County, that we have a digital divide. There are still people out there suffering from internet dungeons, I should call them. We also are going to solicit the participation in the Broadband Survey. I want the best broadband map in North Carolina to be right here in Randolph County. I gave with your packets, and we'll have these for folks that want to when they pick them up on the back table. This is a way to take a survey that tells the survey what kind of broadband speeds you have in your house. We want everybody to do this. Right now, this map shows where those surveys have happened. We have 183 people that have taken this survey. I want that number for Randolph County to be 5,000. And I don't want just that number to be in the city limits of Ashburn, because a lot of those people are connected. I want it to be distributed across the county, so I'm tasking Laura, the digital ambassador, with getting as many surveys, and I need all your help, the people listening at home. I need Laura to be able to come and speak to your group and promote this digital broadband survey to your group and tell about it. So that's one of the jobs Laura is going to be doing. The other thing, the goal 3 in the list here, is promote the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program. This is a federal program. have a postcard about that too. This is a federal program that helps people that qualify to get $50 off of their internet bill each month, and you can get a device. Right now, they do the numbers by zip codes. Right now, there's 1,823 people that are using this benefit in Randolph County, according to the zip codes. We might have missed one zip code that's shared with Denton, but not all those will be in Randolph County. But this is pretty close. We want to increase that number because folks are eligible that aren't using it. So we want to promote it. It's a federal program that's out there. We want Randolph County citizens to be able to use that program to get onto the internet so they can earn, learn, and be well. What's next? Okay. On the framework, next part of the framework, we want to help folks adopt the internet. What's that mean? It's one thing to have the cables running by your house and have the ability to sign up for the service, but like Laura's grandparents, they have great high-speed internet running by their house, but they don't get it because they don't think they need it, and they probably don't. If it depends on what they want to use it for. But what we want to do is we want to increase the number of people that adopt the internet. This is the adoption index. It's very low in just about all the county. And we want folks to be able to adopt it. And the reason we want them to adopt it is that we want them to have the skills and the literacy to know how to earn, learn, and be well using the digital resources they have. So why do we want to teach the digital literacy? We want them to be able to earn, learn, and be well. What is digital literacy and what are digital skills? Basic skills, literacy part is just being able to use the PC, the tablet, the smartphone, being able to use email, check your Facebook. Moderate skills include using word processing, spreadsheets, cloud applications, being able to do marketing on social media. Advanced skills means developing software, coding, analysis, and cybersecurity. So we want folks to be able to use those skills to earn money, to make a living in Randolph County. That's what a digital skills and literacy coordinator would be. I was here last Monday asking for funding from the ARP funds to fund this position in Randolph County in the Cooperative Extension Office. So hope that goes well. Part of that job would be creating a digital skills training corps. These training corps would be people volunteering in the county, sort of based off the Master Gardener program, where if you have a skill that you could teach somebody, we could get you able to teach that skill to someone in the county that needs that skill. It's a way to share and spread the skills needed in the county for digital usage. What's going on in the future? What are some things to be considered? In North Carolina, the governor has proposed a $1.2 billion state investment into broadband development. This chart shows some of where the funding would like to go. And if you notice on that top line there, this is going to be revolutionary because if they can get the speed change, what's considered high-speed internet to 120, it's going to redraw the maps where those maps are shown where CenturyLink or other companies can only offer 25.3. That's going to wipe those maps out, and funding will be able to be distributed other places because those speeds won't have been met, and if they can get better fiber or get fiber internet there, they'll be better off. So this is still working through the House and Senate right now, and the state legislature in the budget. So that's a possibility. That's why I put opportunities. It's not a fixed thing yet. Other thing, federal opportunities for development. There's an NTIA grant that's available now. They're soliciting applications for that. There's the emergency broadband benefit I touched on, that's per household. And there's also the big infrastructure bill that's in the federal House and Senate, that has a lot of money for broadband also. So there's money coming available. I hope that we can leverage and find ways to get folks connected with the money that's coming, get folks here in Randolph County connected. So that's a little bit about broadband. I did put one slide in here because of some of the work that we're doing here in Randolph County. I'm going to be able to participate as a National Broadband Fellow to help other cooperative extension systems around the nation work in broadband programming like we're doing right here in Randolph County. So Randolph County will be recognized and seen as an example of what's going on here in Randolph County. I got a call today from Moore County. They're looking at the band density grant, and I'm doing a meeting with them this week to talk about with the extension director there how they can be involved with broadband like we are doing here in Randolph County. So that's it. Thank you for letting me come, and I'll be glad to entertain any questions you might have. I know I threw a lot at you at one time here.
I guess, Kenny, with the infrastructure, as a county, we're not allowed to invest in infrastructure, so we're somewhat limited. And I know you've got surveys and other soft things, I'll say, that we can do. But what does the county need to do to support other than the positions that you're asking for? What can we do actually as far as getting fiber in the ground and getting the service to people? Right. If anything.
The accountability for the grant programs that are in place now is very poor and very lax. I don't know, as a county, can the county ask these organizations that have received the funding, it's not county funds, it's federal funds, can they at least ask how you've used those funds? I don't know if you can do that or not. That's just one thought that crossed my mind. If there was any way to get that information back from these companies that received lots of money, millions of dollars, to see where they've invested those funds and putting internet into Randolph County. So that's one thing. And just being aware, what you're doing as a board, not a lot of county boards are doing that. So just being aware and being able to ask the questions and knowing what to look for is a big step forward for our Randolph County citizens.
So, boiling it down, when were the Sharplesses? When can they expect help?
From CenturyLink, probably never, but thankfully, that new wireless internet provider up there, the fixed wireless, Carolina Airlink, Nancy told me in an email today that she has talked with them, and looks like that might work out for them. So that's an illustration that it's going to take multiple ways of providing internet. The fixed wireless, the fiber optic cables, the cable companies, the telephone companies that want to upgrade their stuff. It's going to take all of them to reach the citizens of Randolph County in rural areas especially.
Okay,
I hope you look like you have a question.
So let me ask one more question. So, to clarify, is the only way you have of knowing whether somebody has internet or not if they call you or they take this survey?
Right. Don't call me. Talk to survey. I don't want to keep up with the list of names, but the survey.
There's no magic that lets you see who gets internet. Lets any of us see that. So if we want to know who across Randolph County does not have reliable internet, then they need to be completing this survey.
Absolutely. Because of this statement, better data leads to better resource allocation. And if we can have the best internet map in North Carolina, in our county, and when the funding starts rolling down, we'll know where to put it. I was talking to a representative from Randolph Communications. She agreed with that. She's like, this would help us a tremendous bunch when they're applying for their funding for the grant applications. They'll be able to point to this data, so we'll know where to put this investment, this money. So yes, doing this survey, you can even do it if you don't have internet ability. There's a way to do it over the phone. So that's even a possibility. So there on the card, there's a way to connect, and I'll make sure this is on our website too.
Okay, well, that was my other question. If they don't have reliable internet.
Right, how are they going to do it?
Get to the website.
Yeah, so you can connect by phone.
That's like the frequent energy outages that we have out where I live.
Right.
And you call the power company and they say, you know, it just, it's very upsetting to hear them remind me that I can go to the internet.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and let them know my power's out.
Right.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Right.
Yeah, I
Note,
knew that.
note well taken, thank you.
Okay, one other question. When you talked about the computers that you provided, I'm concerned about hotspots and places for our students that don't have internet to use these laptops.
Right.
So what do we have in the way of places for them to use them? And I don't mean a hotspot where you can drive up in a car and sit and use it in your car. That's no way for a child to try to do their homework or
Right.
to try to work. What do we have in the way of places for them to go
Right.
if they need somewhere to go?
Right. One great resource is our libraries. Our library, Ross, has gotten all of our libraries connected to high-speed internet, and they can go to the library during those hours to do that. That's a great resource. I know Ashburn City Schools participated in the Student Connect program, which provided some of those places. They were taking buses out to provide Wi-Fi hotspots during the remote learning days. So that was a great innovative way to get internet to those places. Remote learning is not as prevalent right now. I know we do have the online virtual academy that Randolph County School System started, but the students are back in schools. But I would say libraries and those kids know where they can go to get the internet too. So a lot of times they can get to those places where they can connect to that public Wi-Fi type things. YMCA, yeah. Several places around the county. They talked about putting it in some parks and stuff too. That's an idea that's been floated around. But that's still sitting in your car or on the picnic tables in the shelter or something, so.
All right. Any other questions, comments for Kenny? All right. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, next on the agenda, item C, Sheriff's Office Canine Training. Justin Brubaker, who is our
Vice Chairman.
office manager.
Yes, sir. Vice Chairman, Commissioners, it's a pleasure to be with you here today. I want to try and be as brief as possible. My son's got a play date with me, and he's driving my wife crazy. So just going to, as you may know, our Canine Program, Sheriff Seabolt made that a priority back in 2019 to really revive our program. Since 2019, as of today's date, we've seized a little under $500,000 from our Canine Program. The current Canine Program consists of 9 various canines. These canines are made up of different breeds from German Shepherd, Malinois, and Bloodhounds. Out of these canines, they have different purposes, being dual-purpose and single-purpose canines. Their primary objective for that is to be able to locate narcotics, tracking, article searches, and apprehension. And today I'm here in front of you to request the expenditure of $16,000 in law enforcement restricted funds to purchase a new canine and for training. And I've also brought with me today Sergeant Russell Hogan, who is our lead canine handler. I know you're going to have more additional questions, so let him have it.
I guess it doesn't say who we're getting the training and the dog from. Is it somebody we used before, or?
No, we've changed up our venue for that, just to broaden our horizons. Some of the training that the sheriff's office has sent us to since 2019, we've learned that if our net is wider, we get a better grasp on what is good and not getting all of our resources from the same spot. The purchase of this canine would be from Houston, Texas, Houston Canine Academy. It's one of the kennels that's solicited and at one of the training venues we went to this past February. But we've visited their facility, and their training is top-notch. It's elite. It's also something that I have full confidence in as well. Not to say that anything we have now isn't up to par, but this is a step above where we have been purchasing our canines. Yes.
Memory serves, this is a little bit more expensive than some of the other animals we've been.
Yeah, that's correct. Where we have previously purchased our dogs, the training regimen was a lot shorter. This facility is all about more repetitions, more training prior to going to the street with your dog, and to iron out any deficiencies either from the dog or the handler. So it's a longer time period. Typically, it's 5 to 9 weeks, depending on the handler. So we'll be looking to send them for 5 weeks. That's why the training cost is a tad higher.
Okay. Other questions?
This is turnkey dog handler training, dog training, everything we need.
Correct, yes. Mm-hmm.
And I guess we have the facilities to maintain another animal.
Yes, everything is already, we've already put it together prior, so the expenses that we're asking for is just for the dog.
Right.
And like Rebecca said, since 2019, the canines are a vital part of our asset forfeiture fund that we already have. They're one of the stamps of approval based on the money being seized from drug dealers based on the odor that's on that currency that we cannot see or smell, but only they can. So the courts have upheld that that is one of, not the only, but one of the major final stamps of approval, that if the dog indicates the presence of narcotic odor on that money, then we in fact do get to seize it because it is involved in narcotic trade.
So when you say you get, will this be a single purpose or a dual purpose dog?
Good question. He will be a patrol dog that will use, dual purpose is a commonly used phrase. It will be narcotic detection as well as tracking, article search, and apprehension. So he will do all 4 of those facets. So he's a multi-purpose or dual purpose dog. Single purpose dogs typically have one, like our bloodhounds are tracking only, so they're single purpose. And then we have 2 single purpose narcotic dogs. So they're similar to your pets. All they do is smell things and they tell us whether there's narcotic odor, but they're as nice as any dog that you have ever owned. So.
And what kind of dog is this?
The dog we were purchasing is, it's a new breed. It's called a Malahide. It's a mix between what we have as our Belgian Malinois, which I have, and then it's crossbred with German Shepherd. So you get some similarities from both. And if you don't want me to bore you, I won't on that. So.
Any other questions? All right. Any other discussion? If not,
One more.
okay.
Sorry. So this is the first dog that we're getting through this Houston Canine Academy?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I would appreciate it if you would update us on this, because
Sure.
I know once before we had a dog that had to be sent back.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'd be interested personally in knowing if a longer training period is, that extra training, prevents some of that.
Sure.
So I'd just
Absolutely.
like to hear back from that at some point.
6 months, a year, you tell me.
Well, as long as
2 months.
As long as it takes you to figure it out.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd just like to hear.
Sure thing.
Because it'd be nice to be able to prevent that.
Absolutely.
And so it'd be worth the extra expense, because you're going to lose money, it seems to me like in the long run, if you have to, trade one out because you send it back. And then if I remember correctly, it cost us.
Cost more to do that.
It cost us more.
Yeah.
I mean, they give you a discount, but still, you've lost a lot in terms of training. And then, I mean, you know, just even to the dog, going back
Right.
is not a good thing. So it would be, I'd just be interested in knowing if you see a difference in the dogs themselves and the amount of training that, you know, has gone into that,
Not a problem.
in the work.
All right? What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'll be glad to make a motion to approve the expenditure of law enforcement restricted funds in the amount of $16,000 to pay for additional canine and training expenses as described.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, moving by Commissioner Kidd, second by Commissioner Haywood, that we purchase the animal for $16,000. All those in favor, any other discussion before we vote? All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, sirs.
Thank you so much.
All right, looks like the rest of the night is Crystal Geddes with the Economic Development Corporation. Looks like 3 different projects you'll be bringing before us and with public hearings and whatnot, so.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you for having me. Tonight, I've got a few things on the agenda. The first one is to ask the commissioners if you'll consider entering into an economic development project feasibility study cost. This is a feasibility study on a water and sewer study running up to serve a site just off Interstate 74 and Highway 311 off of Wall Brothers Road. This is a site we've identified for a potential industrial park and is controlled right now by a developer with the landowner. It is approximately 260 plus acres. We are under an options agreement for approximately 175 acres of that site to be developed. That site has undergone a Duke site readiness study and has proven that it is a marketable site for an industrial park. However, it is not served currently by water and sewers, so that feasibility study enter into that, and the EDC engaged with Hiram Marziano, which is the engineer firm with the City of Randleman. We have spoken with the City of Randleman, and they were in agreement in going into a 3-way split to cover the cost of that feasibility study, which was $30,000 to be split between the City of Randleman, the Randolph County EDC, and the county. Randleman did agree to do so upon the county agreeing to go into that as well, and the Randolph County EDC board also agreed to do that 3-way split, which would be $10,000 each.
I appreciate the EDC board spending the county's money. I just wanted to point out 70% of what you get is from the county, so it's
correct.
We appreciate them spending that for us. I think this is something we've talked about,
Yes.
at least amongst ourselves, and so this is something that should be fairly familiar to the board. The water study, and that's, I guess, the biggest thing that's
The sewer is the largest hurdle, and this is the first start of us even entertaining and seeing if it's even feasible to do this, to market the site.
Is there any, and I don't know Randleman's situation as far as sewer capacity, is that going to be an issue, I guess? If you're doing a study and you don't have the capacity, then, you know.
Right. There is a couple of options that we have on that, and yes, it is doable.
Okay.
And those options are being explored now by both the City of Randleman and the City of Asheboro.
Okay. Any questions of Crystal? Okay, all right. Since this is an economic development incentive, we're required to have a public hearing.
Mm-hmm.
So at this time, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in favor or opposed to the funding, now's the time. Anybody want to speak? All right, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing, and we'll ask for Action from the board.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the resolution authorizing the county, Randolph County, to enter into an agreement to share the cost of this economic development project feasibility study and the associated budget amendment for $10,000.
Is there a second?
I'd second that, Mr. Chairman. And I just,
Motion by Commissioner Haywood, second by Commissioner Kidd. Any further discussion?
well, just to back up, and support, Commissioner Haywood in her district and what Crystal said. I sat in on a few of those meetings with the EDC and the city of Ashburn and the city of Randolph, and just knowing a little bit more about this project. This is a great first step that we need to be investing in as a county to get site, customer-ready stuff available in this county so that we can move forward. We see stuff popping up everywhere, and this is a great step forward to have, boots on the ground here where we can react if we've got a client that's interested in coming to Randolph County. But I'm just excited to be doing this.
It's readily accessible to Highway 311.
Yeah,
So,
and the cooperation between us and the municipalities that thus far has been great, which is a major accomplishment.
getting everybody to play pretty is sometimes the trick.
But greatly appreciated.
Any other comments?
I'd just like to say if the public didn't, if our citizens didn't know it, just for our economic development to be chosen for this Duke Energy Site Readiness Program is, quite an accomplishment. So I'm very, very pleased and very proud for that opportunity. So good job.
It does lend a stamp of approval that it is viable site. And so Duke Energy just doesn't hand those out just willy-nilly. So any other discussion? All right. Those in favor of the motion as presented, let it be done by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries and is unanimous. All right, Kristen. Item E, going to Eden Terrace.
Yes, so this too is a site that we have identified as a marketable site. We've had several discussions on this piece of property, and back last year about this time, we were under consideration of going into a partnership with a developer that's controlling the property there on 907 Eden Terrace in Archdale to build a spec building. Once COVID hit and prices went up, that was taken off the table by the developer. They stopped all speculative construction. However, the site is still very marketable due to the reasons that all the infrastructures are already there. The water, the sewer, the zoning, the gas, the electricity, the power. It's a great site for us to market. Again, this site is controlled by a developer. And so our next steps in this is to move forward with preparing it a little bit more with the engineered studies and engineered designs for this site so that it can be everything but graded and pad ready for construction. We do submit the site quite often on projects as it is the closest one that we have ready for a company to come in and start building. So this too would be in a partnership. It would be a four-way partnership to go in to this design phase of this piece of property with the City of Archdale, the Randolph County EDC, Samet Corporation, and of course the county. To do those studies, we've been giving a cost by Samet of $124,800. That split four ways is $31,200 from each entity. Again, we have met with the City of Archdale at their August meeting, and upon approval of the county and their participation, they have agreed to go into that agreement with us. Our EDC board has also agreed using more of the funds that you graciously give us. We feel like that is a good use of those dollars and preparing us and helping us to market to companies looking at our...
I'm just saying that the county's got a big piece
Yes,
of
they
that.
do, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, so. We invite the other municipalities to participate at a higher level, so.
That's right. I will add that these funds, should we ever get back to the point where we want to consider that speculative building, these funds will go towards those fees, and it will be taken off of that contract.
Do you know, Samet, do they contract out a lot of these services, or do they do this in-house? It's a little unusual for them to do all the engineering.
Much of it they do in-house. Some of it they may outsource, but a lot of it they do. And you know, we were asked if they could not just replicate because they do this over and over. But the problem is that they have to resubmit a new set every time they go to a new site, so it can't be taken from an old drawing or submission, so they still have cost in that. And they're willing to put their funds into that as well and move forward.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. We'll open the public hearing on the Eden Terrace pre-construction agreement. Anyone wishing to speak in favor or in opposition to this expenditure of funds, come on up. I don't see anybody moving, so we'll close the public hearing and ask for consideration of the board.
If there's no discussion, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to.
We'll discuss.
Well, we can discuss it later if there's no discussion previously, but anyway, I would make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the county to enter into an economic development project for pre-construction services at 907 Eden Terrace, and the associated budget amendment for $31,200.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Kidd, second by Commissioner Haywood. Any discussion, further discussion?
Again, I don't want to keep us all night, but again, this project is like we had talked about the previous project that we just had a hearing on. This is, another, huge step beyond that one. It just makes us, ready to have site-ready projects. When we get people who inquire about Randolph County, we've got something to show them. So I'm excited about it.
Well, I think City of Archdale's also very much been involved in it and has shown favorable.
Yeah, and I guess it's been almost a year ago, wherever we kind of almost had a handshake agreement with them that we had tried to help them with this project, and it kind of backed up, and the details changed a little bit. But I'm glad to work with Archdale as well. So good point.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, if not, all those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, and the resolution is adopted. All right, Crystal, number 3.
Okay, this is my last time, I promise. So this is always fun to come up here and speak to you about a company that's either coming into the county or expanding. And so tonight I want to talk to you a little bit about Mickey Truck Bodies Incorporated. This is a manufacturer of beverage bodies and trailers, dry freight and refrigerated van bodies, and emergency vehicle bodies that provide transportation equipment for the food and beverage industry, bottled water and propane cylinder industry, and emergency vehicle industry. The company was founded in High Point in 1904 and remains headquartered in High Point. Mickey currently has 320 full-time employees in the Triad. In efforts to meet their growing demand, Mickey Truck Bodies has identified some property at 6099 Prospect Street in Trinity. It actually has an Archdale address, but it's in the Trinity's ETJ for their location for their expansion. It's a 17,280 square foot building that rests on 9.71 acres. And it's, again, located just out of the Trinity city limits, but in their ETJ. The building has been vacant for approximately 7 years, and Mickey has a contract to purchase the property pending completion of due diligence. Mickey Truck Bodies anticipates investing $488,630 in the property, including $353,630 in building upfits and renovations, and $135,000 in machinery and equipment. The company is committed to creating 20 new jobs in Randolph County as part of this project. The average annual wages of these new jobs will be $52,000. The Mickey truck body renovation project is eligible for a North Carolina Commerce Building Reuse Grant for up to $175,000. You do have on your notes up to $176,800. We did get confirmation and approval of the grant, and it was up to just over $175,000, so that's a correction there. Or half of the estimated renovation costs. The North Carolina Department of Commerce no longer requires our local governments to do a cash match commitment for building reuse grants as we've asked in the past, so that has changed. However, they still do have the same metrics in place. It is a performance-based grant, and they will have to meet their investment and job creation, and we will still have to report and track that. It is still required that the grants be, the applicant be either a nonprofit or a local government, and we are asking tonight for you to approve us to submit that application. The full application deadline was August the 26th. We have met that deadline and submitted that. However, it is on hold and pending your approval to move forward, and we can let Commerce know one way or the other after tonight's discussion. I do have a representative from Mickey Truck Bodies here, which is CEO Matt Sink, and would love for him to come up and answer any questions you may have. Matt, I'll ask you to come up, and he may want to say a few words to you also.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First off, I just wanted to tell you thank you for listening, and thank you for having me here tonight on behalf of Mickey Truck Bodies. I want to let you know that we are very excited for this opportunity to open and operate this facility in Randolph County, and is absolutely necessary to support our growth plans for 2022 and beyond. And I also want to assure you that it is always the goal of Mickey Truck Bodies to create a safe and prosperous working environment with a team-oriented atmosphere so that all of our employees can be successful. Any questions?
I'm somewhat familiar with Mickey Truck. I used to work for some folks that worked in finance for your company, so I've heard good stories, and I know y'all have been a growing company over the years.
Yes.
Up in the Guilford County area. Not a new name to me.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much.
All right.
Sir, will you come sign up?
We'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in support of the building reuse grant or oppose the building reuse grant, now's the time to come and speak. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing and look for direction from the board.
Mr. Chairman, I'll ask you to, usually your question is, about, the default on the payment and everything, but I know we've already covered that. You just want to address that for the public, because I know you know the answer.
Well, this is the same building reuse grant that I think Mickey Truck has agreed to some security deed of trust, I think, is security for the loan, because the county is responsible to the state if the requirements of the grant are not met. So that's no different, I guess, than what it has been, and we've been doing that for quite some time. I guess this is, Crystal, I guess this is the first building reuse grant that we haven't had to have a match on. Is that correct? So to me, this is, the only thing that's different is we don't have to expend any money on this one. Right. We still have to administer the grant and that kind of thing, but it's not as, everything else is the same. We just don't spend any money on it now. So.
But I know you always make a point of making sure our risk is covered, which I think is wise.
Well,
so I appreciate
we've been burned once, so we don't want that to happen again. So. All right, anybody want to make a motion to? I think
Well, I'd just like to point out before we do that, again, even though it's here, but I would like to just reiterate that the jobs that are created are above the average for Randolph County.
Very much above average. What's the pleasure of the board?
Well, I'd be glad to make the motion. I know if our chairman was here, he would probably want to make this motion, but in light of his absence, I would be glad to make a motion authorizing this resolution of the county to apply for a building reuse grant for Mickey truck bodies.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Kidd, second by Commissioner Haywood. Any further discussion? Not, vote. All those in favor of the motion, let it be a saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All is opposed, and the motion carries unanimously. Thank y'all for coming out. Thank you for being here tonight, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, county manager's update.
I'll remind the board we're going to meet September the 15th at 5 p.m. here in the historic courthouse. We talk about recovery funds and water and sewer infrastructure projects on a countywide basis.
Okay. That meeting is at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
And it is on Wednesday, so that's a little bit unusual to have a Wednesday meeting for the commissioners. All right, commissioner updates. Any updates from any of the commissioners? Commissioner Haywood, Commissioner Fry, and myself attended the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners annual meeting down in Wilmington, and we were presented with an award. How we may get with you, so we can talk a little bit about that for the LG, what's the Local Government Federal Credit Union awarded the county some nice little plaque and a little bit of money too, so we're excited about that. And I guess I would be remiss if we, with the spike and rise in the cases last couple of weeks, we've had over 1,100 new cases of the COVID virus and unfortunately 18 deaths, so we encourage everybody to remain vigilant. The pandemic certainly is not over, and I think we've got a little bit more work to do, so we encourage everybody to remain safe. Any other comments from the board? Otherwise, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate it. And we're done. That was good. Good dog too. We would have got the building done.
I'm fine. Good question.